All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of people going crazy over the Delphi case, right? They can't figure out how did they do. My God, they fired the weapon to get the extraction marks on it when they don't even realize that that was how they used to get extraction marks, was literally firing the bullet. And people are memorized by it. They can't figure it out. Right? They're saying it's against law. Well, you can't do. All you were supposed to do was eject a round. Well, that's not how they did it in the back in the olden days. Uh, they fired the weapon that gave them the ballistics and the ejection marks. So if you read it, she said she couldn't get. If you read the person that was doing the test on the weapon, she could not get uh, strong enough marks on the bullet to match. Right. So she fired the weapon. Once she fired the weapon, the marks were there. What did she do? She used old fashioned crime solving because that's what they did back in the olden days. So a lot of people going crazy about it. The woman didn't break no laws, or whoever did that test on the gun or anything. Uh, she fired it because she knew that's the original way that they used to get extraction marks and rifling marks on the bullet and everything, right? Ballistics, whatever you want to call it. Uh, Now, a lot of people saying Richard was set up. Well, it's very possibly, but see, Richard would know who was setting him up. Richard would know that something's wrong, right? Either someone that he's running with ran their mouth, or somebody or something within his own family wasn't right. You know? And the other thing is Richard might have pissed off the wrong person, one of these Odins or whoever, and they set him up. Now I'm saying it's possible to be set up, but you can't. No one can explain that that bullet did come from Richard's weapon. Now it's not up to anybody but Richard now to let people know who was actually in his house, and did any of the police officers when they were called there to his house, whether it before the murders or after, did anyone get a chance to get their hands on that weapon or to take a bullet from his box, his dresser, wherever, right? And another thing people just can't imagine, right? Now I was watching, what's the guy's name? Raffy. I was watching him early this morning. War Lion ASSB or whatever, as below, so below. And he was saying some things uh, that Jerry Holman was asking him. Was he set up? Was he, you know? And Holman was giving him the chance, right, to to do that. But Richard insisted he never brought his gun to anybody, no one. Well, then it was an inside job. Only family would have access to that bullet, or if the police was in his house. But see, that won't work because if the police were in his house after the murders, and he wasn't keeping an eye on them, then could one of them got a bullet? Yeah, sure. Yeah. And then dropped it there. I don't know. When were the crime scene photos taken, right? If the crime scene photos were taken the next day, uh, were they at Richard's house before the murders? And this is pretty easy stuff to figure out. Now, do I blame that lady for shooting the weapon? Nope, because that's how they used to do it in the olden days. Was they fired the weapon that gave them everything. That gave them everything. Rifling, it gave them ballistic. It gave them the ejection marks, firing pin marks. It gave them everything. That's what they should have been doing. These people telling you that, oh my God, she fired the weapon. Oh my God, she can only get the marks after firing the weapon. Because that's the way they did it back then, folks. I don't know why these people are trying to do this. And let me explain to you now what we're looking at is these people are throwing such a big stink that some of these guys are making themselves look sus, right? Sus. Now, like I said, Richard Allen holds the key. He has the power to play ball, right? Now, if he's going to appeal it, he best get himself some good lawyers. You're going to have to open the case again. You're going to have to reinvestigate everybody. Now, there was a lot of Sig Sauer weapons that were taken and tested, okay, that were in that area. It's a very common gun. I had one myself in 1997, 8. Uh, I don't like them myself. Everyone, oh, they really weren't. They really weren't that good of a weapon. I don't know why these people are. For one, it jammed once in a while. It's not a good weapon, right? It looks cool, but it ain't a good weapon. Good morning, little Debbie. What are you doing up so early? Oh my God, woman. That's not like you at all. It's almost like you, you switched yourself with somebody. But welcome in. So, what are they doing? Nothing. They didn't break no laws. That's part of forensic uh, 101, right? I'm shocked that they didn't fire the weapon right off the bat, right? I don't know why they would even just try and eject it and uh, and that's it, right? Just eject the rounds and see if they can get the same marks on it. I don't even know why they did that. That was stupid. They should have known you got to fire the weapon to get everything right. And I'm glad they did because there's a good chance that the firing that weapon and getting the ballistics and the barreling on it and everything on it might lead to something else. Ah, right? I mean, that's 101 investigating. And I was looking at it. I was actually shocked when they said they didn't fire the weapon. I was like, well, you got nothing now, right? You got nothing because you're not going to get the results that you need by just ejecting the rounds. You're not going to, there's not enough stuff there to, you might get somewhat what looks like ejection marks, but they're not doing it properly. I'm going to let you folks know that we are going to have a lot of murders in America and on Earth in other countries. And if you're using these people to solve them cases, I'm going to let you folks know that these people are already going to get away with murder because these people think they know what they're talking about. They want you to think they know what they're talking about. In reality, they don't know shit. Not a dang thing about solving a crime. That is the way they did it in the old days was fired the weapon to get everything. Now these people are making a big stink because she fired the weapon and she could not get the extraction marks by just ejecting it. Well, thank God that little lady was using her head because she'd probably be out of a job right now if they would have found out she never fired the weapon. The only way he could have got set up was if he was using one of them accounts and someone knew it. The only other thing I can tell you folks, I know it's going to piss you off, but they're screaming, Richard Allen didn't. Okay, Richard Allen didn't do it. Then you best go and pick his wife up. You best go pick his wife up because she's the only one that had access to the car. Or she let someone use it that day. One of the two, folks. Now, there was woman DNA there. There was other stuff there that was never tested. Right? Now, I'm not saying it was his wife, but everyone's complaining and crying about it. Who could have set him up? I don't know. For one, he'd had to give a bullet to somebody, or he borrowed his weapon and don't remember it, or someone with inside his house either got somebody something they needed to set him up. Is that possible? Yes, but that ain't my job to solve it. And I suggest you get some good lawyers that have a pocketbook to pay professionals. Because if you get somebody that ain't got the money to spend to get the professionals, well, then you ain't going to solve the case. I think they're onto the right track. And you guys should have got the hint when his wife walked into the interrogation room saying they think she had something to do with it. Now, I would suggest. Now, was it a husband and wife team? I don't know. It is possible to set somebody up, but these things have to be in place. Richard Allen would have had to have a grudge against somebody. Or Richard Allen had to have been doing something bad and someone found out about it. And they set him up. I can't believe it. His phone is missing, folks, from that year. Right? What do we know about Keegan Kline? They took his devices, but one that he hid. Right? What'd they say? He hid it in the microwave. Let me see what Miss Debbie's saying. I believe he is involved in some way. He said he was there, but I heard something about the Fight Club around those areas. Yeah, I don't know what they're talking about, a Fight Club. There ain't no Fight Club or anything they're talking about. Half of them guys couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag anyways. So you might be right. They might be talking about some Fight Club around there. There ain't no Fight Club around here. They're killing motherfuckers. They're too old to fight. They're just killing dudes around here. No joke. And I don't blame them. We're too old for this shit. Right? They're like, oh my God, he opened fire on. I would open fire too. Opening fire is starting to sound real good in America. Right? Yeah, I'm for real too, Debbie. If I can get the Lord to heal me and get me back to where I was, half of these dudes would be walking around with tracheal pipes because I would have ripped their throats right out. These stories sound. This has gone mad. Oh, it's gone mad. But I'm old. I'm in my late 50s. I worked construction now. I'm broke down. I can't roll around on the ground right now. You got to use deadly force or not deadly force. Shoot them in the leg or something. Don't hit an artery. Shoot them in the arm. Shoot them in the shoulder. Do whatever. Let them know you mean business. Yeah, it's just, they're not stories. This is stuff's really going on. You know, it's that's why a lot of people boot scoot boogied out of Indiana when this went down because it was literally a gunfight going on. It was a war, biological, all kinds of stuff was being used down there. So, is it possible he was set up? It sure is. But now you got to pay the people to find out. He's going to have to get a good law team, and they're going to have to dump some dinero on specialists to come in. Uh, I think they got the right guy, and we're just going to wait because we want to talk to Richard, just like Keegan. Once they calm down, we'll make offers. We'll cut deals. Richard will tell his story in time. I think these other people are so afraid of Richard going down because they know Richard's going to talk. And he's going to talk and he'll give these dudes up. Hey, when you're looking at 100 and something 60 years and they might cut a deal with him or something, or 140 years or whatever, if he gives up a bunch of dudes, pedos or whatever, this gang or whatever out there, then he might see the light of day. Or they might put him in a place where he can have visits all the time, walk around, get outside, and not locked in a cell all the time. Yes, Debbie, I agree. They've gone mad. I can't believe you're up this early. I was going to do a video before you got up because I know you don't like all this crime stuff. I need to refill my coffee. Debbie says, I believe he's involved in somehow, some way. He said he was there. Yeah, he put himself there. The kicker was when his wife came in, she said, you never said I was there. Or you never said you were there, Richard. And he said, yes, I did. I told you. Right there, it would have clicked in Richard's head. Or it would have clicked in my head. Okay, either she's not remembering or they got to her. And either she set me up, my own wife, or someone else did, right? The police or something. For all we know, they might have been looking at Richard for something before that, whether it be domestic violence or going to his house or whatever, with arguing with his wife or whatever. And they could have got the bullet that way, but this is what I'm talking about, folks. This is why Americans, even if Richard Allen is guilty or innocent, this is why the justice system is broke. You will not get a fair trial in America. It is too easy to set somebody up, and it's too easy to get away with murder or anything. That's why the justice system and America's justice system, you're not going to get a fair trial. I would have pumped it out to another country. And that's what we are noticing now. There's mass amounts of people leaving America. They're jumping on the ship and they're buying property, Canada and other places, and they're jumping ship. It's broken. America is broken. The justice system, they're all Masons, Freemasons. You're never going to get a fair trial. Let me see what Debbie's saying. What? You're a nut. I didn't say that you're reading it wrong. No, there is. No, you said, I believe he is involved in some way. He said he was there, but I heard something about a fight or about a fight club around there. These stories sound, or these stories around this have gone mad. Yeah. There's too much conspiracy. It's always could just be, you know, cut and dry, just cut and dry. He did it, and it's over with the bam. What? You're a nut. Okay. I didn't say that. You're reading it wrong. Put your glasses on. What said what, Deb? It's murder. Someone took these girls. Yeah, someone did it. Whether it was in their own family, whether it was someone else, and they seen Richard was using one of these accounts and they seen the opportunity and did it or whatever. But here's the kicker: the bullet came from his gun. Now you got to figure out how that bullet got there and who got it from his gun or his house. Right? We can reopen the case. We can go pick up his wife, his daughter. Maybe it was his daughter's boyfriend or something, right? I mean, you're going to have to pay me money to do it. I mean, I could solve the case. I can lock them all up. I can even lock up these YouTubers that claimed they were investigators, FBI, psychological. I mean, we can lock them up, personating authority and practicing doctorism without a license. We can do all this. You want to pay me the money? We can go after all these dudes, right? We can lock them all up on suspicion of conspiracy to cover up a crime or set someone up. Well, yeah, and that's what Valdez said he dropped it. Probably. Or it was his calling card, right? I imagine they might have found another bullet like that at another crime. It could have been just, and he didn't think they would catch him. Why? Well, because he didn't fire the weapon. It wasn't a spent shell. It didn't have too good of extraction marks on it or whatever it would have been, right? Uh, and in his interrogation, what does he keep on saying, right? There's no way my bullet was found at a murder scene. Right? I didn't even have my weapon that day. No, but in the other interrogation before that, you said when you went out there, you used to carry your gun and you carried a knife with you. That was his own words. Right? That was his own words. Now, one of these guys that got picked up is talking about somebody that might have been in the music business that was in my chat. So they're asking about that. Are they going to open that up? I'm not sure. They might be, right? They might be. Now, like I said, folks, these police will lie to you. They will lie to you. And they also will make up false accusations. Everyone's saying Greeno went to prison for something, child support or whatever, right? Now, we all know that could have been a lie. I'm just saying. I mean, Greeno put himself there. Greeno said that he went back to the scene of the crime and found a phone. Uh, Greeno also said he had something to do with this case, right? Now, that all could have been a lie. Greeno said they took his phone but never gave it back. That all could have been a lie. We don't know. Debbie said, so the killer knew right where to lay the bodies at the top or on the top of the bullet. The bullet was found next to them. It wasn't on. The whole thing was lied. They all lied, Debbie. The bullet wasn't found underneath a shoe. The bullet wasn't found underneath the phone. It was 6 inches away from one of the girls' feet on the ground. Nothing covering it. They took the photo. What you guys are seeing when they showed Richard Allen the photo of the young girl's leg, and Holman pointed it out right there, 6 inches away from that girl's foot is the bullet. You remember when they all said the bullet was found underneath the bodies? It was buried in the ground. You remember when they also said it was underneath her shoe and it was underneath the phone? That was all a lie. And how do we know this? Because the photos that they showed Richard Allen, there was no shoe, there was no phone. There was one of the girl's legs and a bullet 6 inches away from it on the ground. So most of these YouTubers lied, or they believed they lied. They believed it. No, it was in the documentation. It was fake documentation, fraudulent paperwork. When are you folks going to wake up and see how corruption works? Right? This is right from, it was corrupt. It was fake. They're allowed to lie. They can tell you the sky's falling. Right? They shouldn't be lying, but that's the rules. They don't have to tell you the truth. The government don't have to tell you nothing. Now, do you know why I say your country and the justice system just ain't working out? You ain't never going to get a fair trial. Before your case even goes into court, it's all over. It's all over social media and the news, right? Speculations going on, people doing stuff they shouldn't do. Oh, this ain't the guy. Well, boy, we're going to lose our jobs if this ain't the guy. You best make it be the guy, or this ain't going to be too good for us. Yeah, this is what happens in America and other countries too. Let me see. Oh my God, that's funny, Christopher, with that one line. What, he dropped it? That's the one line? It's very well he did drop it. That's very well he went back that night to dump the bodies. I mean, if all these people that were there were searching and said that them bodies weren't there, well, then somebody went back there and placed the bodies there after the search was over and planted a bullet. I wonder who that could have been. I mean, you have people that have confessed already to you folks right on effing YouTube, and you were so blind to see it. Good God, I can't live in this country anymore. I'm cashing out, White House, Congress, Senate. I'm done with this. I'm cashing out. Get me somebody in here that knows what they're doing. It's too corrupt. Let me see what's going on. Are all these people criminals before this case? Yes, Debbie. She's just figuring. I told you that a while ago. Why do you always act like I haven't filled you in on this shit? I don't know what the F she said. Yeah. They all were being looked into or already had records before. They were the Delphi crew, probably. Or the Odins or whatever. I mean, well, we do have Greeno confessing that he was being recruited. They wanted to recruit him into some club or something or gang. And they ride motorcycles and stuff. I don't know if that's true. That ain't my job, right? Right. And you also have Greeno said that he went back to the scene of the crime and found a phone in the mud on the side of the bank and everything. Right. That he turned that in supposedly. You just got too much going on in that case. Way too much. That's why the rest of the world is screaming out corruption, Indiana, and all this and that. And it's got a bullseye on it down south down there. I'm really sorry, folks. But I think you're starting to figure out that the people that thought they ran this country, they don't. And it's all a facade. It's all a show. It's a cover, is what the FBI said, and CIA and Homeland Security and the other 7 branches of government that the Pentagon and everybody don't even know about. So it's all fallen into place, right? It's all fallen into place. Somebody, everyone, he's innocent. Okay, then prove to me he was set up. Because I already went through 7 scenarios where it is possible he was set up by people. And the people he was set up by could have been actually in the bar with him that night that they were playing pool. And he was on camera. And Richard Allen is a camera freak. He loves to look into the camera. Why? I don't know. He did it in his interrogation, and he did it for an hour and 30 minutes in the pool hall as the guy was filming the game. And that was in 2019, folks. So somebody with some brains was already onto these guys down there. Someone had to be close to him if they were running around with his ammunition in their pocket. Yeah, he would have had to know something. I was screaming out in the video I did, come on, Richard, think, right? When Holman said, did you borrow your weapon to anybody? You know, think, Richard, think, right? Do I want Richard Allen to be guilty? No, I don't want no one to be guilty of this because it's just a horror. It's just a sick crime, right? We wanted it to be aliens or something other than humans doing this to children, and especially somebody with children already doing this to children. So anyone got their 5 minutes of fame, or everyone got their 5 minutes of fame. And well, I don't know. I really don't know. All I could do is report on what I know or what I learned or whatever. Right? But you're right, Deb. Who knows? The case is crazy. When my firearms are not on me, I don't walk around with them with ammo. No, weapons are supposed to be for defense. A lot of people don't realize these guys that are branding weapons and flashing them all over YouTube and everything are literally probably already being looked at, right, as radicals, right? I hate to say it, but that's what it. I mean, it's a third world country, folks. Boy, Raffy is pissed off. Raffy's gone mad over at his channel. He's pissed. You stupid. I tried to tell these people. They don't understand, Debbie. Right? They all flipped out. She fired the weapon. She could not get the extraction marks from just ejecting the bullets. Right? So she had to fire the weapon. For one, that's what she should have done in the first place. That's 101 investigation. That's how you got the extraction marks. Back in the day, that's what they did. They fired the weapon first thing. That gave them the shell casing. That gave them the rifling of the barrel. It gave them everything, the firing pin and everything. Right? So what do? We are going to dissect Indiana and its criminal system because it's obvious they don't know what they're doing. And we're going to have to dissect the criminal division of YouTube because it's obvious these people have no idea what they're talking about or they're trying to help cover it up. Let me see what Debbie Fox is saying. To be honest with you, in those interrogation videos, a couple of times, I felt like he was guilty. Yeah, and he very well is. Right? He very well probably is, Debbie. He very well probably is, or his wife is, one of the two. That's his car. People are complaining up and down. How do you know that's his car? How do you know that's his car? Because that's kind of a rare car. It is a Ford Escort hatchback. There was only so many produced in this area. There was only so many that were bought. And there was only so many in Delphi at that time. And everyone, well, how do you know it's his vehicle? You know, because it was the only black Ford Focus hatchback in that area. There was others, but they were different colors. They were different colors. Richard Allen's was black. And if you guys knew anything about investigation, which none of you do, not one of you do, you're a bunch of actors, bad actors, from what Trump called when he said they're all bad actors. Yeah, even the police, they're all bad actors. Right? They would have known. They got him. And they wouldn't have done nothing but pull up his name at the BMV and seen he had a 2016 Ford Focus black hatchback. And it's obvious these people have no. How do you know that? Well, because if there was any other vehicles in that area, they would have went to that house. They would have knocked on the door and they would have questioned them people. And they would have done an investigation into that vehicle, when it was bought, where it was, where it came from. And that's what they did. They did their jobs properly. And they came to the last vehicle and boom, Richard Allen. What color was it? Black. The only black one in that town. No, I'm really sorry, folks. I'm an idiot and have a disability with paperwork to prove it. And if these people can't figure out that's how they got him, then, you know, either it was Richard driving that car or his wife. Which one's it going to be, folks? Which one? Richard claims his wife had the car that day. Did Richard take the blame for his wife? Right? There's a lot of people. We know this much. Richard loved his wife. Did he love her? Because he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. Someone was driving that vehicle that belonged to that family. Now, you folks figure it out. I got no problem with locking them all up. Not one bit. Not one problem with locking that whole town up. Literally. You folks failed to see there's a problem down there when you got other investigators from other states that are here in Indiana investigating murders and crimes in other states, and it led to these guys down there in this Indiana thing. You got problems. I ain't got a problem with getting rid of all that down there. The whole thing. We'll lock them all up. Right? We'll lock them all up. And they should have seen that when the wife came in and said they think I have something to do about it. They're questioning me. They think I was there too. It might have been it might have been a husband and wife team. There's people saying there looks like there was a woman or someone heard a woman on the tape. It very might well be. Like I said, folks, the American citizens and the people, we have already gave you. We rest our case, right? It's corrupt. A lot of people are saying we should have hit them with down there with one. Once we found out they were dabbling with anthrax and ricin, cooking up ricin, we should have dropped it on their ass down there. Right? You got the wrong people running the show. That must be impossible. Debbie's right. I wonder if the family gets any sleep. I wonder if any of the families get any sleep. Right? Even the girl's family. Because why? Because what you folks didn't know, they were looking into the family in the first place and the stuff that was going on with this MC thing that they all were, and the meth and everything. Right? It's obvious people don't know. And like I said, they would have been better off just getting rid of that whole area down there. Right? Now we have proof that they've been making ricin down there down south, anthrax. Now whether it's for the government or not, either way, the government's knee deep in shit. Indiana politicians or whatever, knee deep in shit. They'll probably end up killing me or trying to railroad me, but at least the word got out. If anything does happen to me, then the main target is anybody in Indiana. Even in the military, anybody from Indiana, you guys revenge my death. And Richard Allen didn't live in Chicago. These people got it wrong. He did live, or he did work on the outskirts of Illinois. Right? He did work there. They sent him there to work or whatever, but he didn't actually live there, I don't think. And I think that's why they were trying to blame Chicago. They were trying to blame Chicago. Some of these podcasters, well, he came from Indiana or Chicago. The killer was from Chicago. Richard Allen didn't live in Chicago. So it wasn't from Chicago. And then they tried to blame the other dudes. Well, maybe there was a meth ring from Indiana to Illinois or whatever. I have no idea. Right? That's pretty crazy. But anyways, I don't know shit about it. Like I said, I got no problem with locking them all up. And the police and the authorities now are questioning, were these YouTubers uh, working for someone else or trying to cover up the ring? for their brothers. For all we know, some of these YouTubers might be Masons or Odins or Lokis or all these things, right? I do want to praise Texas for doing what they're doing. They've had enough of it, and they're going after any MC club, outlaw MC club, um, and they're doing it right. Right? It's been overtaken. That's what it's all over the news. It's all over everything, folks. Right? America has been taken over by some race gang or something, or maybe. Right? That's why I said I got no problem with getting rid of the whole shoot and shaboodle. That's why Congress and a bunch of these guys are saying we're going to have to burn it down. We'll rebuild after we're done. Right? Even our own boys that served for us now they've gone crazy and they're in the jungle, man. They're back in Nam. They're back in Desert Storm in their brains. The government don't know how serious of a problem this is. These boys came from the jungle. They were in the jungle for the government. Now they're in America, and they're in their minds. They're stuck in rice paddies in Vietnam and in Desert Storm and World War II. You know, they join these clubs, and they're just stomping all over America. Right? That's what they're telling us. And do I believe it? It's probably right. It's probably true. What did they do? Well, they said they went and fought wars for this country and conquered it. And then they finally said, "Well, hell, we're the soldiers. We'll just conquer America." And that's what they did. Thus, for you on your news, on CNN and everywhere, they're saying a white race took over America. Who knows, right? But some of them congressmen and senators got it right. Burn it down. I mean, the other thing that I heard is they're just going to start taking out bikers. You see a biker on the road, roll them over. You see anyone with tattoos, roll them over. They're affiliated with somebody. That's what the professionals are saying. The government, the military. Right? We got a problem. Oh, we had a problem a long time ago. 50 years ago, we had a problem in America. And it's going to get a lot worse, folks. A lot of these people are trying to warn people. It's going to get very ugly in America. It is. If they don't do something about it real fast, Trump don't have no say over it. I'm telling you, folks. If this country don't get its crap together, there ain't nothing going to save you, folks. None of us. They will make a decision that it's gone too bad. They cannot control their country. Therefore, they will get rid of this country themselves. And they will bring moral and integrity back into America after the smoke clears. Right? Pretty much they're telling any country right now, come get some if you want some. We'll turn your whole country into a Swiss cheese store. That's no joke. That's no joke, folks. I sat here and watched the congressman and the speaker of the House and them say, we'd be better off burning it down and starting over again. And we might have to. And then throw in these witches and sorcerers that are casting spells on us and all this stuff that you allowed into your country. They had the freedom to worship this stuff. I hate to say it, folks. We just might have to. These people won't quit trespassing on me. They won't quit with their witchery, sorcery on me. They just won't stop. What's left? We nuke it. After the smoke clears and everything, we don't even have to nuke it. We could just bomb the shit out of it. And after the smoke clears, we'll rebuild. We need to rebuild our infrastructure anyways. It's crumbling. In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lions sleep tonight. Debbie. He'll be there anyways. It doesn't matter. Though maybe he did. Here's the thing. Either we're going to bring Richard in or the whole family. Right? Because somebody was driving that car. And there was only one black Ford hatchback in that area. So whether it's Richard's wife's boyfriend behind his back or whatever, or somebody was driving that car and did the murders. So you got two people, Richard or his wife. Which one? Richard claimed his wife had the car that day and she was at work. Okay. That's fine. Richard went through the whole thing. When he was working in certain places, he drove that car because it got good gas mileage. But then he said once he got transferred back from the outskirts of Illinois, that they switched cars. He drove the truck and she had to go to work, so she drove the car because it was farther away and he worked right in town. So he drove the truck, she drove the car. On February 17th, his wife, or 13th, his wife was at work. He said she had the vehicle. So you folks do the math and figure it out. Either Richard's wife or she'd let someone borrow the vehicle that committed these murders, or it was Richard Allen's wife and some other people there, some other guys. And the whole thing was to set Richard up because in the future, Richard's wife said that he was very violent. There was also people that came out on YouTube and said that Richard would threaten to beat her ass in the parking lot once they got home. Right in front of people with a very serious look. And these witnesses that said Richard looked very angry. And he would just walk up and tell her what she was going to do. And do this, do that. And I'm going to beat your ass once we get out in the parking lot and everything. Well, maybe she was fed up with the shit and being threatened and everything and said, I'm going to show you, and did the murders. Had someone do it. What would they need? I don't know. A knife from his house and a bullet. Right? All this shit goes crazy. They bring Richard in. We got a knife from your house and a bullet. And they took, Raffy was saying, well, the murders were done with a knife. Oh, they took plenty of knives from Richard's and box cutters. Richard had tons of box cutters and knives and Bowie knives in his house. And he had other weapons other than the Sig Sauer. That's very well possible, Debbie. Debbie said maybe she dropped the bullet. Maybe she did. Now, here's the thing. They said, well, he racked it on top of the bridge. Well, if he racked the weapon on top of the bridge and someone was with him and he gave the bullet, right? They bent down, grabbed the bullet, and put it in their pocket, right? And then they escorted the girls to where they were going to do the murders, supposedly, if it happened that way. And somehow, by moving the bodies and doing whatever, the bullet fell out of one of the people's pockets and landed there. That's possible. Now, a lot of people said they must have found the bullet on top of the bridge when he racked it. I don't hear a weapon being racked on top of the bridge. People are saying they hear it. I don't hear it. But even so, if he racked it on top of the bridge, then don't you think that that bullet would have been found on top of the bridge right there before they came off of the bridge to go to the murder scene? The photos would have shown that, right? Exhibit a bullet. Where was it found? On top of the bridge, right before they made their way to the crime scene. Debbie, you got your coffee? I'm drinking my coffee. I got my M&M cup today. Good coffee. Good coffee. Now we know we're onto something because I think they were killing people within the hospitals before this. I think there was a problem down there. Now, whether it's this white race they're talking about, folks, I have no idea. I have no idea. They might have been doing exactly what the authorities were saying. I don't hear that. Yes, Johnny, 100%. No, I don't hear no gun racking on top of the bridge. And even if he did, and that's where then they missed a bullet because there must be a bullet on top of the bridge somewhere, right? But in all the photos and everything, the bullet is 6 inches away from the girl's foot. There's no bullet showing on top of the bridge where they say he racked the gun. Now, it's very well possible he did rack the gun on, like I said, on top of the bridge, but he put the bullet in his pocket, or someone did. And as they were moving the bodies and staging them, it fell out of their pocket. Is what green? No, Debbie, it's yellow. They were out of the green ones. I was going to get the green one. Johnny, you know how loud that would be out there? What? Shooting the weapon or racking it? No, I don't hear any weapon racking. They said he racked the weapon. Well, if he racked the weapon, then there's a bullet somewhere on top of the bridge that might have fell through the railroad ties or whatever. I'd probably be out there searching that whole area for a bullet. Now, my other explanation to Richard's crime defense team is if Richard was out there fishing, that was his favorite spot on that side of the river because it was easy access to the cemetery. Just walk right down to the river. And that's where he did his mushroom hunting. And that's where he went out there to do stuff. Then, if I was Richard, I would have said, "Well, that's where I went and I shot my weapon and hunted out there, right? So the bullet could be from when I was out there years ago, hunting and sighting my weapon and mushroom hunting and whatever. Right here, Debbie. What are you talking about? Let you see what. Oh yeah, if he fired that weapon anywhere out there, and there was anybody on them tracks or on that trail, you definitely would have heard that weapon going off. Now, racking the weapon, they wouldn't have heard that. But being as close as he was to the camera, if he would have racked his weapon, I'm not hearing it. But I don't know, it could be mixed up somewhere in there with the leaves or the twigs or whatever, the gravel. But I didn't hear it. And if it is true, he racked his weapon up on the bridge. Well, you got another bullet that's somewhere up there. Or he did rack it and someone put it in their pocket, and as they were moving all the bodies afterwards, whatever, it fell out of their. I mean, like I said, for all we know, the bullet was his calling card. He might have done other murders. There might be more bullets out there that they can tie to that weapon that were at scenes. Maybe. And what's a dead giveaway is Richard saying, "I have no idea how my bullet got there." But you right? There's no way that any of my bullets were found at that murder scene or any murder scene. I think the government better start doing their jobs, and you're going to have to backtrack wherever Richard Allen went. You got to pull up all these murders or rapes, right? Because Richard Allen in his statement said he was just going to rape the girl. He didn't know they were so young. They might be mistaking the gravel or the twigs. They were walking on sticks and stuff, branches, and they crack, right? They make a cracking noise when you, and that might have sounded somewhat, somewhat like this, Debbie. But really, it was just a twig cracking or them stepping on gravel. I don't hear this in the video. Do you hear that, Debbie? Like I said, folks, for all we know, this was a setup. It could have been. But then there's certain things that Richard would have to explain or know. Were you part of a gang, Richard? Were you involved with a club and you were at battle with another club or organization? Right? Were you involved in a pedo ring and someone knew about it and they set you up? I would be asking them these questions. The government isn't going to waste any more time because they're already put him away for the murders. Yeah, yeah. And even without the bullet, they probably have other evidence and data, phone data, and other things that proved Richard Allen did it. Right? Now, if Richard is completely innocent, he didn't have the vehicle that day, then the whole thing, his wife, someone is lying. Somebody is lying. Richard said his wife had the car that day. He drove the truck. But it ain't adding up. If that's the case, then you got the wrong guy. You should be putting his wife away because somebody had his vehicle. That's the only black Ford Focus hatchback in that town, in that area. Oh yeah, if he fired that weapon, it would have. Everyone would have heard it. Uh, no one reported hearing a weapon go off. Something ain't making sense. It's either Richard or his wife or someone they knew. Maybe Richard and his wife were at war with somebody. Maybe these guys were at war with them. And Richard didn't do the murders, but his vehicle was used. Maybe, who knows? Who knows? You got a lot of explaining to do. Right? I don't have to because I don't get paid. I'm not a cop. I'm not anything but a couch potato YouTuber. But somebody's got to explain for her. You got two options. Either it was his wife or Richard, or it was both of them. And they both lied. They were home the whole day. They didn't ever went to their mothers. It was a husband and wife team or whatever out raping and pillaging and killing, and maybe they did film it. Maybe that's how they made extra money. Who knows? Yeah, what's up, Deb? My gun is loud and quiet in the woods. It, my gun is loud in the quiet woods. Yeah, it'd be. Debbie's saying this is my thoughts. Go ahead, Deb. When they did the interview with her and him and there. Yeah. Yeah. Well, she came right in and said they were questioning her. They think she had something to do with it. So they might have been on the right track. And why did they do that? Is because Richard said she had the car when they did the interview with her and him and there. She seemed so guilty, but she was afraid they thought she was involved. Yeah. A lot of people miss that. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why these people say Richard Allen must have really loved his wife because he took the blame for it when she was the one that had the car that day. Yada 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 yada. And yeah, that's very possible. They could have done the test. They could have tested all them hairs, even though they didn't have enough money to test them all through DNA. They still could have tested them hairs the old-fashioned way under a microscope, which would have revealed what? Growth rings. And what are growth rings? Growth rings are like a tree, but they're in your hair. No one's growth rings are the same. Do you folks understand now? They could have took the hairs, they could have looked at them under microscopes, they could have determined the growth rings of the pattern on the hair, and then they could have tested the other hairs. And if any of them hairs, they could have collected samples from everybody. And if any of them hairs had the same growth ring, that was your guy. Why? Because no one's growth rings are the same. It's like DNA. Yeah, Deb, you're right. The hair that they never tested. You're right. And like I said, they were claiming they didn't have the money to do all this stuff, right? They only spent so much. They only had so much money. They focused in on only certain things. They did not test everything. But that would have been the easiest way to test them 177 hairs that they had, or whatever, 77 hairs, is they could have put them under microscopes, real cheap. They already have microscopes in the lab, and they could have determined it through growth rings of whose hairs matched. Very simple, very easy to do, and not expensive at all because they already had a microscope. She was scared. Yeah, she was scared. Debbie, before she went in there, her hair was a different color. They brought her in that day. Her hair turned gray on top within a couple days. Yeah, somebody was scared. She was definitely scared, right? Definitely scared. She was scared of something. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of people pissed off. This isn't positive. You know, they fired the weapon, right? Oh my God, you're kidding me. She had to fire the weapon. She couldn't get the extraction marks from just ejecting the rounds. No. And I don't know who told you folks that there was any other way to get proper ejection marks or tooling or anything other than firing the weapon. That's 101 protocol. I don't know what these people, I don't know. They're like, the case is over with. They could not match the bullet. They had to fire the weapon. Well, that's what they should have done in the first place. That's what they've always done. So, yeah, we got to dissect Indiana's system. It's obvious they don't know what they're doing, and neither do I. So I don't want the job. Cook calling here asking me, you couldn't pay me enough money. You already owe me money, so it's over. we shouldn't. We should watch those interrogations closer. I am telling you, she is scared as. Yeah, Debbie, I agree. Debbie, it was common sense. When she walked into the interview room and she started crying, and she said, "They think I have something to do with this. They're questioning me." And which makes sense. Which makes sense. Why? Because they had hair there of a woman, right? They did have DNA of a woman. So when they were questioning her, right? If she was at work and she had the car, like Richard said, his wife had the car. He used to drive the car. He bought the car because he had to travel long distance and stuff to go to work. And the car got good gas mileage. But once they called him back to Indiana uh, to work, uh, he bought that car, or he gave that car to his wife, and he said he drove his truck, and his wife drove the car. Well, if he didn't have the car that day, his wife did. Well, somebody's doing the time, whether it was a husband and wife or whatever. I don't know. I mean, his daughter went to school with these girls, right? Or knew that family. I don't know. Did they make fun of Richard's daughter? Kathy and Richard both did that. Who knows? Maybe. I don't know. You can't tell me she didn't know nothing. Come on. She did. If you listen to the interviews, she told Richard, you told me you weren't there that day, Richard. Richard said, I did tell you I was there. And she said, no, you didn't. You said you didn't go there that day. And Richard said, yes, I did. I told you I went on the trail. And then I told you that I walked out onto the platform. And she said, no, you didn't. Or I don't remember. And he said, you just don't remember or something. It's all right, baby. It's okay. Don't worry. Right? Maybe, who knows? Boy, did they get themselves into a pickle. What a mess. I'd hate to be in that. Thank you, Jesus. All glory goes to Jesus. Amen to that. Amen. What do I think? I don't know. I think maybe, did Richard drop his wife off at work and he had the vehicle, being that he wasn't working that day? So he drove his wife to work and had the vehicle that day, and they both lied? Did Richard even go to his mother's? Or did she lie to cover for her only son? Debbie says, yep, that conversation is weird. What are you doing up so early today, little fox? If it's even little fox. She's probably sleeping. It might be one of her kids on there. You kids, put that phone back. Once your mother finds out, she's going to be very upset at you kids. Dang kids. She's probably sleeping still. And these kids got the phone. You kids are going to get in trouble. So tell your mama. I can't believe she's up this early. She was up earlier than me, I think. That's unbelievable. You kids, put them phones down right now. Give it back to your mother. Amen. All right, we are going to end this. I got to take a shower today. Got something I got to do around here. Some chores. Oh my God. Does it sound like Richard, Debbie, to you on the recording? It does to me somewhat. Yeah, it really does. Especially now that we got that new footage of him actually talking on a phone to his wife. That does sound more like him, because you're getting a comparison of what kind of microphone is recording Richard. See, the microphone in the interrogation room is different than a cell phone microphone. So what we're hearing him talking to his wife behind bars on the phone, I thought was a better comparison than his interrogation uh, video. And he did sound like it somewhat in the interrogation video, but I think you got a better match with when he was on the phone, because microphones have diaphragms inside of it. Every microphone is different, right? That's why these professional studio guys and music guys use. So, well, what'd you use on that to mic that guitar? Well, I use a Shure 57, right? Well, what'd you do on that? Well, I used a Heimser microphone, a ribbon mic. Right? Every microphone is different, gets a different sound. I'll tell you what, these dudes that record music, they're called engineers. They're incredible. Right? They're incredible. They spend all day listening to people's voices, singing, sounds, all kinds of stuff. Right? They're called engineers. Uh, but in the studio, they're called a studio engineer. They're an engineer guy. They're the guy. They're like Eddie Kramer, the great recording artist who recorded Zeppelin, Kiss, Aerosmith, numerous bands. Uh, they're professionals. Before I did, or before I didn't think so, but now I do. You think what? Oh yeah, I think it does 100%. Oh, his voice, Richards. Yeah, but don't get too crazy, Debbie, because uh, I got like 5 or 6 guys that match that voice. Very similar. That's the thing. We had too many people that look like Richard Allen in that area, and we had too many people that sounded like Richard Allen in that area, which is freaky. And then throw in that it's possible they had their phone and the footage and created the whole thing and downloaded it on the phone. And we're looking in circles why the real killers are getting away. That's very possible too. I would have let the FBI come in on this, right? I would have said, "This is yours, baby. You take this because this is just too much." There was just too many people in that area that looked like Richard from a distance, and there, at that time there was a lot going on in Delphi. And then I don't even want to bring in the investigators that came from other states that led to this Kokomo Delphi crew thing, crime circuit ring. That was a dead giveaway. It was a dead giveaway. You had investigators from other states calling detectives in Indiana and Delphi saying, "We're coming to your town." Right? What are you talking about? Well, we're looking for somebody all the way over here in this state, and it just so happened it led back to your Delphi boys, your little Indiana thing or whatever, right? And that was shocking. What the? I mean, yeah, man. Yeah. Bridge guy will always be iffy for me. Yeah. I can't say that's 100% Richard Allen on the bridge. Not with that footage. Give me something else. Give me something to believe in. From the footage we're seeing, I can't say that's Richard. Voice, possibly. Real good close match, if you ask me. But so were other 4 or 5, 6 other guys. But looking at that photo, if they were to say we're locking him up for the rest of his life, we're putting a death penalty on, is this him? I can't say that. Not from that distance, not with that photo. For one, uh, the people that were suspects also were YouTube creators and had programs and enough intelligence to create this whole madness. So I can't put them to death on a photo. Now you give me something else. You give me something else, 100% proof that that's him, whether it be a voice, fingerprint, DNA, cigarette butt, semen sample, a piece of article in the vehicle or at his house or something. Give me something. But on that footage, I can't put him away and take his life on that footage. Right? I'm not saying he didn't do it, but I can't identify that as Richard Allen 100%. until the court or somebody says somewhere that it's actually 100% bridge guy. I don't believe that. I don't know. I'm not. What I'm saying is, I can't say that's Richard Allen on the bridge from that distance. I can't. It looks like him. It's got characters in him, the gait and stuff like that. And that's what you got to look at. If you can't identify his face, then let him walk. Let's watch the video of him walking, because everybody has a certain way of walking. Now they're saying, well, he was on the bridge, right? He was on the bridge, and the reason he had a gait was because he was stepping over the railroad ties, right? And I was like, well, okay, that's fine. Let's look at his body posture as he's walking down the bridge, right? The body tells a tune. The body tells a story, right? Along with a gait and the way they carry themselves, the way they walk, their upper body. Let's look at that. Oh, you can't do that. You can't. What are you talking about? You're crazy. What are you talking about? A gait? That's what people said to me when I said, well, bridge guy has a gait, or something's wrong with him. Something like a dog walker, kite flyer, and somebody else. I don't know. There was 2 dog walkers there. There was 2 people there walking dogs. You had dog lady and dog man. All right, we are going to end this video. It's at 1:30. Well, they got a decision to make. I would keep an eye on Richard's wife for a while. Who are her friends? I would take a look at the guys at the bar. Did he piss somebody off at the bar? I would see, did Richard or his wife know any other of these YouTubers that were in that area at that time? Did somebody try and set these people up? I don't know. See, what also they're not figuring out, Debbie, is if you call the right people, if you pull the right strings, they can see if they had a satellite over the area that day, uh, and they would have took satellite photos. And here's the whole layout. And these satellites today can see a gnat on the sidewalk, right? That's how good they've gotten. So they could have pulled up satellite photos of that area of that whole day, right? From say 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. And if they would have made the right calls and called the right people, they would have been able to get real life time satellite photos. And if there was a satellite over that area at that time, they would have been able to get satellite photos, and they would have seen exactly where everyone was parked and who was actually on them trails. And it would have been very easy to do, because at that time there was no leaves on the tree. So they would have seen everything. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got to end this because I got to relieve myself of all this coffee. Let's see what Debbie said. And your loved ones know how you walk. She would have known her husband's walk. Yeah, I think that's what she did. They came in, questioned her. And I wouldn't doubt it if they showed her the video and let her listen to it, which I already know she knew and he knew exactly everything on this case. Why? Because they were watching it. They told Richard that the wife wanted to go out there and help search, but Richard said no. It's almost like she was saying it's him, or she was saying she was setting him up. I wanted to help them. I wanted to do it, but Richard wouldn't let me. Yeah, yeah. It very well might be there was a man and a woman there if they had different DNA, and that's true, right? And now they're doing 360 coming around back on the family now, 8 years later. Well, maybe, right? There's a lot of rumors out there that one of the girls were pregnant. Well, there's your motive, especially if it was from somebody that's of age, right? An older person or whatever. There's your motive right there, right? The girls were being abused by someone. Well, there's your motive right there. Numerous things that could have happened. We don't know. We weren't there. We don't know. This is why you really can't share old shoes. Yeah. Yeah, she's right about that. She is exactly right about that. You might buy a pair of shoes from somebody and they might have committed a murder in them. And now you get picked up or something and they check your shoes or something. Oh, this is my God, this shoe was used in 6 murders. Yeah, that's how easy it is to set somebody up. It's the same thing with clothes, right? Someone goes out and does massive murders and then they get rid of their clothes. They what do? Drop them off at the Goodwill, or they they sell them in a garage sale. You're walking around with a jacket you bought at a garage sale or something, or at Goodwill or whatever, and the next thing you know, you got 50 cops on you. Spread them. They got their knees in the back of your neck. You're going down for murder. You know, yeah, that's how easy it is, folks. And DNA, yeah, we got to come up with something new because I can go in the garbage and grab somebody's DNA right out of the garbage can and put it somewhere by a murder. And aha, you must have been there because this candy wrapper has got your fingerprints all over it. That's how easy it is. We will be dissecting the justice system no matter what anybody says, and we're going to revamp it. That's the way it's going to be in America. Why? Because the criminals have finally caught on to the criminal way of doing it, right? And before I leave here, I'm going to bring up one thing. There was a man in prison. He was in prison for rape or whatever, right? He was in prison for 7 years. Why that? 7 years he was in prison. A crime was committed. There was a condom that was found at the crime scene, had semen in it. They tracked it down. They said this guy did the murders, right? They were all looking for him all along. This guy was already in prison. He was in prison. And they got his condom from inside the prison, committed a murder, and dumped it at the murder scene. Once they figured out the madness and everything, the guy was behind bars. They figured out that one of the inmates took a condom from the garbage can, gave it to somebody on the outside. They committed a murder and left that condom there. Right? So it's too easy to set somebody up. No, I mean, everybody walks different. Like, they don't like it if they put your foot in someone else's shoes. You could feel the different way that they walked. I don't know. Yeah. Everybody has a gait, certain way they walk, whatever, limp. I don't know. We're going to have to revamp everything. I mean, the old ways will work. DNA will work. Ballistics will work. It's just now the criminals have figured out you can set somebody up, right? You could take a piece of tape and 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 transfer a fingerprints on a piece of tape, and then transfer that to a murder weapon or anything. It's called transfer DNA. So it's just we're gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to change some stuff for the better, though. All right, I'm gonna end this thing because I got to relieve myself. I might be back here shortly. God bless America. All glory goes to God. Have a great day. I'll be back shortly.